And he was a giant. He put football players to shame with that body of his. So that was the thing that was intimidating, not the height, just the power.
Well, actually, I do want to go to just the start of your relationship with Stephen King, which is The Langoliers back in 1994.
Northern Lights over California this time of year.
Who knows? The weather's been really freaky this year.
When you signed on for that project, what was your familiarity with his work?
I'd read a little bit. I'm not sure that, I'd read a little, and I liked them. I read short stories. I wouldn't say at that time I was a huge fan. I liked reading them. I liked the Langoliers short story when I read that. And at the time, I really needed a job, and I was happy to get a job. And over the years, I really have come to appreciate Stephen as an author and as a really fascinating human being.
Did he spend a good amount of time on set? How much time did you get to spend with him?
There was one day that I saw him on the set, and he's actually in a scene in it out the runway out there with the touch and goes of the Air National Guard out there going all day long.
So, give us your report, Craig. Tell us how much money you made for us.
We didn't actually talk, but I saw him out there and wow, that's Stephen King. Unusual looking guy, but that's Stephen King.
And 28 years on, how do you reflect on that experience? Because very much like The Green Mile, it is a very intimate cast that's spending a lot of time together in really one primary location.
Yeah, very two different experiences, though, I have to say. Like I said, it was, that story is supposed to be, it's totally silent. We're 8 seconds behind time. Somehow we've gotten this, and the Langoliers are coming. We don't know what they are, but they're coming, and people can hear them. And I'm afraid there was a little bit of unhealthiness on that set. It wasn't a great experience, although I'm always happy to be acting, and I'm always happy to be with other actors. But it was not a great experience. But we were up there in Maine. I love Maine, but it was totally the opposite with The Green Mile. Even though there was a tension on the set because we knew that this was behind schedule and it's gonna be a long process, there was a real bonding that happened between all of us. And it helps because everybody is so fantastic. They're great human beings. They're really fantastic actors. Everybody's at the top of their game. And we're in this completely beautiful story. So it was, like I said, two different things.
From what I understand, the scenes on The Green Mile actually were filmed in scene order. Basically, you were playing out the movie. How much did that ultimately influence the experience of, like you said, you got the chance to bond with all these other actors, but you also had, after Edouard Delacroix dies, that's the end of Michael Jeter's time on set. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it's so unusual to do something like that. I would almost always, it seemed like I would always get, when I got my script and there's the most emotional scene in the movie, that would be the first thing they want to shoot. I don't even know everybody's names. I haven't met them, but somehow I have this relationship with them and I've got to be emotional about all of them. And but because of money and budget and time, that's how we do it. It's a real luxury to have, your world unfold together and get to live it out. It was great.
Well, and actually one interaction I wanted to specifically ask about is working with Sam Rockwell as Billy the Kid, because that's an intense performance. And from what I understand, he kind of stayed in the headspace even when cameras weren't rolling. Plus, there's also that scene where he spits the chocolate in your face. Kind of what was it like just working with him?
Well, I didn't know anything about him at the time. We learned pretty quickly about him. Because he is, you've seen his work over the years. He is, he just knocks it out of the park. It doesn't matter what he's doing. But the thing that I loved about him, with all of the stuff he had going on, we had studied the similar acting method with a guy named Bill Esper. So we were kind of working in the same mold. And so with him, it was particularly fun.
You can come in here on your legs, but you go out on your backs.
You being 6'3", I imagine you're used to the experience of kind of viewing down on your co-stars. Was it weird working with James Cromwell and Michael Clark Duncan on the Coffee Highway?
I'll tell you what, the very first movie I ever did was called Inside Moves, where my character had to become a professional basketball player. He's just kind of a street basketball player, and overcomes stuff with an operation. And my first real experience among giants is we played with the real Golden State Warriors. My character came on the team Golden State Warriors. That's where I felt like it was another planet working with all of them. And then, Michael was only an inch taller than me, actually. And I was 6'4" on the time. I'm on the way down. I'm 6'3" now. But he would have been on the way down too if he'd hung around long enough. So I was I wasn't so uncomfortable. The only thing about Michael Clark Duncan was he was 350 pounds of muscle. I mean, he was a giant. He put football players to shame with that body of his. So that was the thing that was intimidating, not the height, just the power.
Move on next on the timeline, there's Hearts in Atlantis, which is an interesting performance because there's a lot of parallels that exist between that movie and some of the other Castle Rock Stephen King adaptations. I'm curious, did you use Richard Dreyfuss's performance in Stand By Me as a reference? Like, what was kind of your headspace for that? Also, just playing the older version of this character we saw for most of the film.
Yeah, I didn't really, with Richard. No, because that's not really helpful to do stuff like that. No, you just have to put your attention on the character. But I did get to know Anton a little bit. Another actor who unfortunately, his life ended way too soon. You see, I just watched that again just for something else. And God, he's so lovely in it. And it's another lovely movie. And that's Stephen King. That it comes from Stephen King's heart and imagination, his world, and there's often a real beauty to it, to his stories.
One thing, and this isn't a movie yet, but another book from Stephen King that I have to ask about is Revival, because I love your audiobook reading, and that book absolutely, like the end of that book completely destroyed my brain for a good week. What was your experience just reading that book and recording it?
I hadn't read a Stephen King book before. I was thrilled to get it, just to do another Stephen King thing. And maybe we're talking about Maine. I grew up in New England, Boston, and go every summer up to Maine. That's part of my childhood. And the story all took place in Maine. So I was familiar with the accents, that world, and get to just dive into it. One of the great things about doing those books is you get to be all the characters, and that's fun. And it gives you such great characters to play. And that climax that you're talking about is a real, honest to God, Stephen King climax. You got one book going along, and then there's Stephen King, pouring it on. And to do it, the woman who produced it, we were sort of playing with how far should I really go with this? How sort of emotionally into it should I go? And she was like, well, let's just record it. Let's just go for it. Just do it. Go. So I did. I just went for it. And I was a little sweaty afterward, but it was fun to do.
Honestly, I want to see Revival as a film. And if you want to play that preacher role, that would be fantastic.
That'd be great. Yeah, I would love to play a role on that.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that is my time. But again, thank you so much for taking the time today. It was really wonderful talking with you.
Thanks. Very happy to talk to you.